Alright folks, time to do some fabric cobbling out here in the shop. We're going to fire up the comet generator, aka the welder, and then we've got some tubing. We're going to be making a undercar third hand or muffler stand, whatever you want to call them. Mechanics use them all the time. We have actual real ones that hold actual real weight, but these are super helpful. We use these suckers all the time. They get super used and abused, and eventually the pipes get all beat up and wore out, and we chop them up, throw them away, and make some new ones. The thing is, I don't have a tubing notcher, so we're gonna wing it. We're gonna print out some templates, stick them on our pipe, cut them out with some primitive tools, fire up the comet generator, fry her on there the best we can. And if you guys have a shop or a lift and you're working on your cars, these are super helpful things to have, super handy tools. So let's get started. Let me give you the rundown what she's gonna look like. Here's our blueprint tube. She's a 3-legger on the bottom. Inside of this tube is another tube. Slides up and down this way and this way, and then we weld a nut on here. We have a bolt, weld another bolt on it. We got a T-handle, slide it up, boom, lock it where you need it, put a whole bunch of weight on it. And then on the top of this, I usually put a bottom half of a 2.5-inch muffler clamp, because we usually use it for muffler stuff, but then when we don't, that gets all smashed. So we'll probably just put something flat on this thing, and that's it. So there's our concept. In order to make our tubing notches on the tubing, the legs that we're going to put on here, we need to know a couple things. We're going to be using this program called tubingmitered.exe. You can download it off the World Wide Web. It's a small file. It's kind of sketchy, probably has a virus in it. But at any rate, it seems to work pretty well. So you got to put in your tube diameter, your wall thickness, what size tube diameter you're butting up against, and the angle of the dangle. I've determined I don't think we quite want 45, because I'm holding this out here like that's a 45. We want a little more like this, so I'm going to guess about 60. So I put in here, this diameter is 50.7 millimeters. It's 1.8 millimeter wall thickness. We're going up against a 50.8 millimeter piece of pipe, and I put in 60 degrees, and it drew up this little pattern. And now all we got to do is come over here. We hit OK, hit file, hit print. It's going to print. We're going to go and see Mrs. O, get a copy of that, cut it out with our scissors, just like kindergarten. We'll cut us out some legs, whatever length we determine they need to be, maybe yay long, 12 to 16 inches somewheres. We'll notch it. We'll pray that everything lines up, and if it doesn't, we're just going to fill in the gaps anyways. Look alive, woman, coming in. Did anything print out for us? I'm not going to show the people what you're doing.
Oh, you drawing a picture?
Yes, ma'am. That's super awesome. You wait. You wait. You're going to be so proud of me.
You be impressed?
You're going to be super impressed. You come out and be like, oh my gosh, is that you? Yeah, okay. So here's our paper, and it has our specs right on it. This tube, 50.7, with this wall meets that tube at that degrees. Let me cut it out. Cut it out. Who remembers that? TGIF, huh? Full House, Uncle Joey. I think he's the one that used to say that all the time. Used to love TGIF when I was a kid. Get to stay up late, you know. It's like when Rescue 911 was on. I don't remember what days that was on. Or Unsolved Mysteries. Your parents let you stay up till 9 o'clock instead of going to bed at 8:30 or whatever time you had to go to bed. So we're gonna cut this bad boy out here. Whew, there it is. Before we go cut our legs off, not your actual legs, let's just see if this thing actually lines up. Oh, boom, get wrecked, huh? She's met, boys. It comes super duper close. It's going to be way closer than we were going to be just using the cutting torch. So then technically we put that on a pipe, we draw some fancy lines around it. Robert, your mother's brother. Okay, so let's go cut our legs at whatever length we determine. We're going to fire this little guy up. The legs are broke, so you got to prop her up on a piece of wood. I think it'll work okay. We're going to go, what seems good? We're going to call it 15. We're going to go 15-inch legs. So we're going to mark this. We're going to cut on this side of our mark. I'm gonna chop that off. I'm gonna make 3 of these. And this is all the pipe we have, so hopefully it'll work. Let's figure out where we need to be. Right there seems good. Crank her down. Put on your shield. Cover up your juggler. Boom, 15 on the dot. Let me chop out a few more of these and we'll be good to go. So I got them all chopped. Well, look at that. Almost ended up with a 4th one exactly. Look at that, you can't even see what I'm doing. That's okay. Price is right. We're gonna take and deburr these because those are pretty sharp. They'll cut your little fingers. Put your blast shield on. We're going to take a couple pieces of the green tape. We're going to take this little guy. And what I'm thinking, I think this might help us. So you got the seam here on the pipe. We're going to start at the seam because we're going to, I believe, this long side will be the down side. So we might be able to use this if we mark 3 spots around our pipe where we're going to put our legs on. You're gonna have to trust me, just wait a minute. I can think of things, I just can't explain them. One of those guys. So we're gonna put a little piece of tape on here. We're gonna put the edge of it right here on that seam, okay? We'll get this baby lined up. Like I say, this isn't gonna be perfect, but we're gonna get her close enough to fry on with the welder. I wanna make sure it's darn near at the top. Actually, I'm gonna go up just a little bit because we don't wanna make our legs any shorter. Not that I've got a straight floor in this building anyways, but you'll see, maybe. It all works out. Okay, so there's that. That's right at the top of the pipe there. Bring this baby around town. Get her lined up. She's lined up nice. Take our other piece of tape. Boom, just like that. So there it is. Our seam is with this seam because I think that might help in a later step. We'll get a Sharpie. And now all we have to do is draw around here. We'll just draw right on the paper and then we'll remember. I'm not going to be able to cut as precise as, I'm only going to be able to cut as precise as I can draw, which isn't very precise. I'm trying to get at, I don't have anything to really cut this with other than a cutoff wheel. So we're not, like I say, we're not looking for real precision here. If you're doing your own project at home, you're going to want to do something different, obviously. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to do this on all 3 pipes, naturally. And boom. So there's that. If we notch that out, and all's right in the world and stars align, we're going to have a 60-degree pipe that can line up to this pipe and fit close enough to call it good. So let me finish marking these and we'll go see if our theory actually works. Now we're going to come back over to the big workbench, aka the floor. Put on your shield for your juggler. We're going to use a cutoff wheel with no safety cage, no limits, and we're going to do our best to chop that out on the dotted line. Well, it's a solid line, but you know what I mean. Oh, this is sketchy. So it's all cleaned up, deburred, and then I found out I made a huge mistake because this guy's a ding dong. I was thinking, well, A, it fits, B, totally not a steep enough angle. What the heck was I thinking? So, right? This is why I'm not a professional. So we got 0, and then like 45, 60, and then 90, okay? So here's what this guy was thinking. I wanted this-ish, but I got this. We should have went for like 30 degrees. I don't know why you guys didn't say anything, because I don't want 45, because that's not quite enough. Anyhow, glad I didn't cut them all. I did mark them all though, so let me see if we can get another template for 30 degrees, and we should be okay because it just should notch this out more, I think. Let me go print a different one. Wow, this is great. Good show, dude. So far, not so good.
What happened?
Minor setback.
Get stage fright or what?
Just showing the people, just making a mistake, making them think I'm human, you know. Can't get it perfect every time.
You know you're human.
Yeah. Same process, different angle. And this time we've got blood. So let's see now. All deburred. Maybe I can edit this in, you guys won't even know. Hey, look at that. That's a little better angle on the dangle. I knew what I wanted, I just didn't know what to type. So now the problem is, because I had to make this pipe just a whisker shorter with the new template, what we're gonna have to do is cut all of the pipes a little bit shorter, just by a smidge. They might be like whatever we had minus like a ½ inch, but this will make a better leg system now, if you see what I'm saying, because we'll have 3 of those. I'm not worried about cutting a corresponding angle, because to be honest with you, there's not a level floor in my shop. All the floors are sloped and rough and beat up, and for what we use them for, sitting on the edge of the pipe really isn't gonna matter. So that's that. If you wanted to, you could get fancy and cut them flush if you had like a nice level shop floor, but for what we're doing, they'll be perfect. So let me show you that other template. It looks just like, you know, here's the first one we cut out, that angle. Here's the second one that I cut out of there. So pretty much the same, just a little different. Okay, not too bad, folks. Minor setback with the wrong degree. But now we've guessed 30 degrees as being the angle that we want. And I had to go through and cut a little bit off each pipe. I'd stand them up and show you, but you're gonna have to trust me, I just stood them up. I don't know what length they are, but I made sure they're all the same at this point, or at least close enough. So now what we need to do is we need to distribute them evenly around this pipe. And my idea with putting the weld seam essentially in the middle, here as close to the middle as I can get it, is that we can make a mark, and then whatever the circumference of this is, I guess that's the correct word, right? At the diameter of the outside of the circle, we'll call it. I think it might be the circumference. Yeah, because the radius is across. I don't know. I don't do this for a living. But then we can make a mark here, another mark here, and another mark wherever the marks line up. But we need to know how big that is around. I think the easiest way to do that is to use this little guy. Here's our template, right? I guess we can leave the tape on, we're just throwing it away. So if we just measure the length of this, that should give us what we need. We'll start at the 1. So it looks like 6 1/4. So if we do 6 1/4, divide that by 3. Robert's your mother's brother. Then we should be able to mark a thingy all the way around that. So let's get out our phone here. 6 1/4 inches divided by 3.
The answer is approximately 2.083 inches.
2.083 inches. Okay, so just a whisker, obviously. So we'll go like let's say 2 1/16. That's gonna be close enough. So we're gonna mark us. Actually, we're gonna start these up the pipe a little bit. I don't know how far. We're gonna say, let's say right here. This is our height that we're gonna start around, and this is where we're gonna start the number 1 line right there. And we'll line that up with this. See what I'm saying? So that's where we're gonna start. 2.08 sounds like about 2 1/16. Could be wrong. So we'll start at the 3. Come around. Doesn't matter which way we go first. We'll just line that up. So 4, 5. There's 1 inch, 2 inch, and 1/16. That way. We'll come around this way. 2, 1, and 1/16 ish that way. It's pretty close. It's definitely not perfect. And then what we'll do to make sure they all start at the same height, we'll just take our piece of paper here. We'll wrap that around. We'll line up the edges on it because that's an edge we didn't cut. I think if we line that up just like so, we should be really close, right? This way we get the top of all of our marks the same. So we'll draw a mark on this. And that's where our mark was there. We'll draw our mark here a little bit longer. And that's where our mark was there. We'll draw this one a little longer. And then that mark's already there. So it could be all wrong. Or it could be right. We could look like geniuses. So we'll draw the little plus sign there. Little plus sign there. If it falls right in the world, we should have about an equal space in between each of our marks. We can check that. So we're gonna go, where are we at here? So there's 2, that's 1 and 1/8. And this one here is about 1 1/8, 1 1/16 and a little extra. And then this one here, they're super close. They're within like a 1/16 of an inch, so it's good enough for us.
Oh, how can you live with it?
Oh, we're gonna live with it just fine, so we've already made a mistake here.
Are you sure?
Yep.
I don't think you'll be sleeping tonight.
That's all right. You watch, I'll be sleeping like a baby. Right next to you, baby. Watch this. This is not gonna fit now. Oh, you friggin' frigger. Friggity frig. Here's a guy who can't plan stuff out. I wouldn't have known this anyway, so if we stick this one on here. So we'll stick that one on there. And then when we go to stick this one on here, dang it, how can I hold all this, Miss O? You know what I need to do? No, I need to go get the comment generator.
Is that gonna help? Do you want me to hold something? I got 2 hands.
You're such a good girl. If that one goes there, then this one goes here. Oh, we need to just whack these corners off just a little bit if we chop it off. What do you want me to do, chop it off?
Looks like you're gonna need to.
How many times have you heard that, Mrs. O, huh? Chasing you around the house. We're gonna have to chop it off. That's what we're gonna have to do to make these fit all the way around. How much are we gonna have to take off, you ask? Not real sure.
Just enough.
Just enough. Let's see. If we go half of this divided by that times 2. Hi, Pumpkin. Come here. Come here, kitty kitty. Hi, Pumpkin. How are you? Hi. Are you coming out to say hi? Here's a good girl. Yeah. Let me scratch your hiney, huh? Here's a good girl. So I think what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna take each one of these. I'm gonna draw myself a mark where I think we need it, and then just chop off the corner of each one of these. And I think that'll give us plenty of room, and it will look really sweet. So let me do that. Just gonna kind of pick a mark here. We'll make them all look the same. You don't have to chop much off, maybe that much I'm thinking. I'll show you. Well, here we go, boys and girls. I've cut off what I think we need. Put it in a chop saw, I'll give her a little whack, cleaned her up on Roger over there. Try to get them somewhat even. Mrs. O did us a solid, went and got us a Red Bull. Because we need to be more pumped up. At this point, I think they'll fit. But you know what? We're gonna assume that they do. Let's grab the comment generator. let's hook it down here on the end of the pipe. And the easiest way, because we got nobody out here to help us hold this, is we're gonna line that up. We're just gonna give it a little tack. 1, 2 tackaroo, okay? On 3, close your eyes. We'll give that a little tack there. That should stay enough to hold it, so we can at least tell, whoa, on the ground, to tell if, oh, look at that. We have just enough room. So let's just keep going here then. Let's see if our prototype, I tell you what, if you're ever doing this, don't do it on YouTube, don't use a notcher, just use a torch like you always do, and you'll be done in a fraction of the time. Totally missed. Nailed it. There's that one. Don't look at the big gaps, okay? It's because I had to cut the sides off it. What do you expect? We got the gap filler right here though. Not a problem. Boom. So there we are. Looks pretty sick, huh? You guys probably can't see it anyways. Let me adjust the camera. I'm getting a little better at making it so you guys can never see what I'm doing. They should be relatively even. I think probably, well, I don't know if we can quite stand it up because we only got 3 little tacks on there. But it should be pretty plumb enough, plumb-ish. I'm not gonna sit here and fine tune or anything because like I say, none of our floors are straight. Not even this floor, it's a little cockeyed here. So let me give it a few more tacks. We'll stand it up, I'll show you the rest of the concept here. And then we'll get welding on this thing. So here's the important part, folks. If I could teach you anything, this is one thing I want to teach you before I die, is make your pipe that goes on the inside just a whisper longer than this little guy. And you'll say, well, why is that, Eric? Go ahead and ask. Why do we want it so it goes down through and hits the ground? That's because you're going to abuse this thing, 100% positive. And this makes it a perfect height. So this tube is like 3.5 foot. I'll give you the overall dimensions here. But this makes it a perfect height for sticking underneath a control arm when the car's up in the air. Then this way here, the pipe is on the ground, and then when you let the car down, if you're trying to put some tension up on a ball joint, or pressure, I can't use the word tension, compression, whatever, you're trying to push something and you want it to be stiff, you want this thing hitting the concrete because our little forcing screw we're going to stick in the side for when we're doing exhaust work isn't really going to cut the mustard. But with this baby going to the ground, you can put quite a bit of weight on it, way more than you should, to the point things get sketchy. And I find that this height right here, 4 foot something, works pretty well if you're working, you know, with a car lift. But why else would you be making one of these if you weren't? So 4'3" to the top of that pipe, and then, you know, our stand here is like 4'1" and 5/8" it looks like. So if that makes sense to you, hopefully it does. You can see on the ground where it protrudes through, comes down and hits the concrete. It's a good thing. Let it do that. Trust me. You'll thank me. Just like I thank Meemaw. Thank you, Meemaw. Clean off your mask. Wipe it on your belly. Hopefully you didn't leave it on. You didn't, so that's good. At least I didn't. So there we have it, folks. See, it's all boogered on there. Some of the spots that I had a hard time with were on the center of the pipe where we had to cut it off, and there was that gap because the pipe wasn't, you know, you know, wasn't pipe to pipe, so there was the gaps. We had to fill it in. Welders, I had it turned up a little too hot. And then the pipe, the way I cut it, you know, the edge of it was kind of pointed, so it went away very quickly as we got back on it. So we fried her on there the best that we could, and I think it will be good for what we're doing. It will certainly serve its purpose. So now we just need to finish it off. It's way easier when I do it with a torch. Get out your Astro TS29, best drill bits in the world, Hyper Step. These things are amazing. We're gonna go a little bigger, 13/32. We got some 3/8 threaded rod. That's a little bigger. Let's poke a hole in this pipe. Let me get a drill. Let's turn that little guy off. That fan's a little loud. Put on your squints. Put on your hat. Grab your drill. All joking aside, folks, these are the best drill bits you ever buy in your life. And then you're going to want to pick a spot. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to where we need it. Here looks good. Let's see, when I'm hanging stuff up, I'm reaching about this height because I'm like struggling. Yeah, so right about here. It's about where you want it. Whoa, easy. You would have thought we were cutting through butter. We're going to stick this up here. Gonna give this some ticky tacks. Ah, crap. Crap. You know what I did? I freaking burnt through my pipe and I left a big booger in there, so this probably isn't gonna work. Frig hole. I'm gonna have to reach up in that pipe and get rid of that booger. What an idiot. I saw it burning through, but I just let it keep going. I'm like, what the heck, you know? This guy's a ding dong. If I ever saw one that's hot. Well, we can reach up in there and do what we gotta do. Well, that sucks. Oh, that really sucks, man. Should turn the welder down earlier, huh? That's what we get for trying to be fancy. Hold that up there, give it a tack. Whoa. Close your eyes. Totally missed that top one, didn't I? Alright, that looks like she's in there pretty level. Let's get our welding helmet on, we'll fry that on the rest of the way. If these things get frigged up on you, which inevitably they usually do, don't try to fix it, just drill another hole and weld another nut on there. By the time these stands go to the grave, they're pretty well beat up. There she goes. Fixed. Grab old Vic here. I fixed the mistake. I took the little, oops, that was tight. I took the little die grinder, ground out my spot inside the bottom of the tube where I burned through and left the booger. Not a big deal. That's just how the world works. Haven't used her today. She got to purge out the lines here, man. You got tanks on? Oh, I can smell you. There we go. Leave this a little long. Got room for your knuckles. nice tea. Not iced tea, I said nice tea. Close them. Oh, at least I didn't flinch. How come this ain't working? There we go. Close your eyes again. Whoa, I didn't. There, that'll keep that from bending apart on you. Technically. It's a little toasty right now. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Looks good. I thought I had a piece of scrap around here I was going to stick on the top, but I think it got used up for something else. I'm not going to weld this on here, but if you're using this for exhaust exclusively under cars, here's what I find works well. Get yourself, this is a 2.5 inch. Usually I'll use like a 2 3/4, because that way it fits about everything. I just stick it on there, weld it on both sides, because now it'll go up and hold your exhaust pipe. My anticipation is on this one, I'm just going to stick like a, say a 4x4 piece of flat stock, put a little curl on the edges, and that's it. Because we use these things for all kinds of stuff, not just exhaust, but if you are doing it exhaust exclusively, this works really, really well because it'll hold the pipes for you really nice. But like I say, we're going a full flat pad on there, but I don't have it, so we got to end this video. The color you're going to paint it, well, it's going to depend on what color you have on your shelf. We've got an almost full can of school bus yellow. There she is, folks, school bus yellow, ready to roll. I keep it way back here so you can't see the welds or the crappy paint job, but in case somebody does come up and look at it close, I painted it really crappy, because that way it takes their eyes from the welds on the bottom and puts them on the crappy paint job. And they think, wow, this guy's a crappy painter. But at least they're not going around saying, this guy's a crappy welder, when indeed I still am. So that's a free tip for you. If you weld crappy, paint it worse. If you weld great, paint it nice. And that's it, because you'll never run into the people in the comment section on YouTube who are professional painters, but they're all professional welders, and that's a fact. The other fact is, I don't know, that's a good segue and you just ruined it. The other fact is, hopefully you remember the tip about leaving it protruding, kind of pick your height. If you guys have a car lift, these things are super handy to have, not only for holding like exhaust, but all kinds of stuff. I'll use them for when I drop a fuel tank down. I got train jack on one side, I'll stick this under the other side and, kind of keep it from falling on the floor, basically. I'll use them under control arms, all kinds of stuff you're not supposed to do, we do with them, and they're really useful. And I find that about that 4 foot height or so, or it depends on how tall you are, like your comfortable working height seems to be a good height to make it, where it hits the floor, if you know what I mean. I'll try to put a link to that where I downloaded that, that template maker, because that works really well. So I'm glad about that. It is a lot easier when I just take the cutting torch and just whack it apart. But we were trying to make a YouTube video, trying to make it look cool, and it still turned out just like it does when I chop it apart with the torch. And then when these things get beat up or ultimately bend, usually it's the center tube, but you can just put a new one in. You buy a 10-foot stick, you see we got a little bit left over, so when that center one gets all beat up, we'll change that out. What I do want to know in that comment section is not just your comments, questions, concerns, and your welding certification. I want to know what you would do different to improve it. And I'm not talking just cosmetically, like cutting the bottom of the leg so they sit flush. And, I don't care about the cosmetic stuff. Functionality wise, what do you think, or what have you done when you've built these that is better than what we do now? For example, would you drill a bunch of holes through the pipe and just use a pin? Which in that case, it doesn't really give you infinite adjustability, but it does give you more strength when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Let me know what you think you would put on top. I'm going to put a little 4x4 piece of flat and curl up the corners a little bit, and that's going to do mostly what we want it to do. But I do want to know your suggestions, because I learned as much from the comment section as you do. I'm sitting here pointing at you like, listen, and that's it. So go down there, you know what to do. Find us on the Insta, the Facebook. We're not on TikTok. That's a fake account. Somebody's stealing our stuff. And when we find them, trust me, we got an excavator. We'll take care of them. And you guys take care and have a nice day.